next part of our unit is dealing with the different parts of the nervous system, including the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So we're going to start off with the central nervous system. It's going to be protected by membranes called the meninges. Meninges go around both the spinal cord and the brain. They're continuous, so they don't have any interruption, and they're going to protect this structures. Now, it may sound familiar because you may have heard of meningitis. A disease is pretty common where it actually causes problems and damages the nervous system. We'll talk more about that later in the unit. One of the key things is the epidural space. Epidural space is on the outside of the meninges between things like the bone and the nervous system. This region may sound familiar as well because you may have heard of an epidural shot, which is used in pregnancy in order to numb the lower part of the body, which they actually put a needle into this space in order to inject pain-killing medication. It's located outside of the dura mater and below things like bone. The dura mater is the first and outermost layer of the meninges. So the dura mater, the name means in Latin, tough mother, because it is a tough layer. It's designed to not rip or tear or break or anything it shouldn't do. It should protect everything and keep it all together. Below that's the arachnoid mater. It's called the spider mother because what its job is it's a web-like or net-like structure in order to hold everything together, but also give it flexibility so it can help to move without ripping and tearing easily. Below that is the subarachnoid space. It's a fluid-filled space that's going to contain cerebral spinal fluid, which is going to circulate through this region to help nourish and get rid of waste and protect, in general, the spinal cord and the brain. Below that's the pia mater. The pia mater is the soft mother or delicate mother. It's the innermost layer. It's going to be right up against things like the nervous tissue of the brain and spinal cord, giving them cushioning but not damaging them by being too rough or too tough. So it's going to go from dura mater, arachnoid mater, subarachnoid space, into the pia mater. That cerebral spinal fluid I talked about once before is going to be used throughout this whole system in order to do a lot of functions, including nourishment and protection. And it's going to go through lots of portions, both inside the brain and the spinal cord, and on the outside in these protective membranes. Looking at it from the perspective of the brain, this is a cut through the skull. You can see where the skull is. You can see the epidural space. You can see the white here, which is representing the dura mater. The sort of pink here representing the arachnoid mater. The subarachnoid space in blue, and then this innermost layer being the pia mater right up against the nervous tissue. It looks a little different when we talk about the spinal cord. We see here, on this side, on the other side, you're going to have the epidural spaces. You're going to have the dura mater. You're going to have arachnoid mater, subarachnoid space, and then you're going to have pia mater, and then right up against the spinal cord nervous tissue itself. A view this way, you can see how small those little small epidural spaces are. So when they take a needle and they do an epidural, they have to go in and then up in order to fit in that space without puncturing into and damaging the nervous system by puncturing inside of those meninges. If they have to do a procedure like a spinal tap or something like that where they have to actually take fluid from the subarachnoid space, they will actually puncture into that carefully in order to remove fluid from that area. The spinal cord itself, how's it made up, what's it going to do, all those kind of things like that. It's about 17 inches in length on average, running from right at the base of the skull, around the C1, C2 junction. That would be the first cervical, second cervical, the atlas and the axis. It's going to start right there, and it's continuous to the brain, so really there's no way to tell exactly where it starts and the brain stem starts. They kind of run into each other. There's no nice, easy junction there. Its structure. It's going to be a cylinder with flattened sides. Think of a toilet paper roll, and you basically squish down two sides and have two sides that are kind of rounded. It looks similar to that. There are 31 segments in this. Each segment has a pair of nerves attached to it. Those pair of nerves are going to be the spinal nerves that are going to reach out in the body and help to run and regulate how your body works. They're part of the peripheral nervous system, but they're connected at each of these segments. The side view looking like this, you'll notice it's not universally the same size all the way up and down. It has thin spots and thick spots. One of those thick spots is cervical enlargement, right here at the base of the neck. The reason why it's there is very simple. All these nerves running from my arm have to attach somewhere. And there's a lot of them, so it means it needs more space. So it has a thickening region there in order for it to allow for a lot more attachment. The lumbosacral enlargement has the same basic principle, except for in this case, instead of from the arms, it's from the legs. The nerves coming from the legs are going to attach at this one spot. The conus medullaris is a term for the end of the spinal cord. It's the tapered end. It has a Latin name referring to the fact that it has a cone shape or tapered, and it's in the middle of the body, so medullaris. It's going to start around the L2, and it's going to run somewhere down to right around the sacral vertebrae. It ends kind of in that spot. It doesn't go all the way down to like your tailbone, the coccyx. Instead, nerves come off the end of it, sort of hanging off the bottom of it and reaching down into the rest of the body. Those nerves have a name. Because of the fact they hang off the edge of the spinal cord, we call them the cauda equina, or the horse's tail, because they hang off the bottom of the spinal cord like the tail of a horse. Another key and feature about the central nervous system is where is the gray matter and the white matter located, the unmyelinated and the myelinated. Brain and spinal cord is slightly different for each one of them. In the spinal cord, the gray matter is on the inside. It's H-shaped or butterfly-shaped. It's kind of a Rorschach test. People have different views of what they think it looks like, but it's in the center. Therefore, the white matter is on the outside, and it's going to be surrounding and protecting it. Down the center of the gray matter is the central canal. It's a small opening that runs right down the middle, and what it allows it to do is allows for cerebrospinal fluid to pass through it from the brain, from the different cavities of the brain, and then also coming through and around with the subarachnoid space, allowing this movement of the fluid throughout the whole system. Here's a side view where you've been cut through. You can see where the gray matter is on the inside with the central canal in it, the white matter is on the outside. Here's an actual slice photo. You'll notice it's not white, it's yellow. The reason why is because when you expose fat to oxygen, it's going to turn a yellowish or brownish color. So that's basically why you see that particular one, because it's been cut open and exposed to oxygen. The functions of it, how it's put up. We know it's going to be sending signals. That's the key purpose of the spinal cord. It's the big superhighway of information. It has to go in two different directions. So I have nerve tracks, these little routes or roads that the information travels upon. They are myelinated fibers in longitudinal bundles, so they're going to be in the white matter. They're going to be passing on the outside. Their job is to send information. And whether it go up or down, it has to go one of the two directions. Now, I don't want them interfering with each other, so I don't want to be like a one-lane road where you guys are both going the same, both directions on the same road. That becomes confusing and difficult. Here, it's like a regular highway. I want going in both directions at the same time, but side by side in their own tracks. So I have a conducting pathway. These are the highway tracks. There are two-way traffic, one in each direction. So the ascending tracks go up to the brain. They carry information in your body, so your skin detects information, something touching it. That's going to be sent to your brain through these pathways, so your brain can interpret what's going on. The descending pathways or tracks are just going to be their brain sending signals down the body saying, okay, something touched my arm, make my muscles move. Or make my organ do this, make my stomach produce juices, make my pancreas produce juices. Do those kind of things that are important for everything to work correctly. So the descending tracks are going to carry motor information away from the brain and down to the body to do an action. So here, something's touching the skin, it goes up the ascending pathways up to the brain interprets it, comes from down the descending tracks back to the body to make your muscles move. And that's how this system works for the spinal cord.